Hey, good morning, everybody. I guess this will be part two and kind of like the beginning of the story and whatnot. Just a recap from part one. My name is Avery. I'm 36 years old and I'm a recovering alcoholic and addict. And I kind of just want to do like part, a series, kind of going over my life story and the struggles I found after getting sober and how I dealt with them and I guess continue to deal with them. That being said, my name is Avery. I'm an alcoholic and an addict. I've been sober for going on 4 years now. My sobriety date is July 4th, actually. Was the last time I went into detox. I was born June 10th, 1987, in Athens, Georgia. And for the most part, I had like a pretty normal, easy childhood. There's nothing too traumatic I can recall that like had any significant impact. Now that I'm a little older, I can like definitely look back and see a few key points that probably had something to do with something. Um, but that being said, I moved around a good bit as a young kid. But once I was like settled in school and elementary school, I was in Madison County completely, and that is where I continued to be the rest of my childhood. Even in Madison County, though, we did move around a good bit. I went to three different elementary schools, but luckily, Madison County was a really small county. So we had like one high school, one middle school. So by the time I got to middle school, I knew a good amount of people. And it was kind of an easier transition for that. But I do know that, like, talking about those key points that I'll look back on and everything, back in the late 80s, early 90s, addictive personalities wasn't really talked about, or at least I was a kid, so I don't recall hearing anything about it. But I do believe that I would have been like a prime example of that. As my family, what I know is on like my second birthday, I got like the old school yellow wiffle ball bats that are the same size all the way up and down, and a wiffle ball. And apparently that never left my hand. I'd walk around holding my bat, just throwing the ball. Now, the earliest memory I do have involves that wiffle ball and bat, and my dad had built me a tee set to hit off of, and I had accumulated quite a few wiffle balls by then. And I remember the time I'd wake up until my dad got off work, I'd be in the front yard putting wiffle balls on the tee, just cranking them, walking and getting them, and throwing them back to the tee as far as I could, and repeating all day long. And then when my dad got home, I would get him to help me gather all my wiffle balls, my tee, and my bat. And we lived across from these batting cages. And I'd get him to go over there before he went inside and saw my mom, before he saw my sister, before he took a piss, before anything. Like, as soon as he got out of the truck. And he would walk over these batting cages with me and throw pitches to me until pretty much he had to like pick me up and take me inside. Um, and I don't remember like so like that like that would have been a clear sign. I feel like now, but then again, it's just a kid being a kid. I love baseball, but that's how it's always been. It's like if there's something I want or I'm invested in, it is obsession to the fullest. And it doesn't have to be drugs or alcohol or anything mind altering. It can be like anything. I catch myself still to this day if I'm having a hard time or rough times or like tired, I don't want to get out of bed or something, like I'll catch myself obsessing over like geography videos or history videos, and I'll find little details in those and just start reading about them and researching about them, and I'll have to catch myself, and be like, hey man, like, it's awesome to learn, but don't just encompass that to suppress these other things. With work, like, I'll just stay at work constantly all day long, every day, to try, I guess, to suppress other things. So I still, to this day, catch myself with that, and it's difficult. That is so hard for me because I don't know how to separate these, like, well, I'm just working. There's nothing bad with working and making money. I'm not using drugs and alcohol, but I guess the term is a dry drunk. And I still catch myself to this day just going through the motions, not paying attention and trying to attack the core problem. So anyway, that being said, there were those little things. I never had really many outbursts as a kid, unless it was being taken away from sports or something like that. I would throw a tantrum. Yeah, so moved around a lot as a kid. By the time I got to middle school, the transition was a lot easier, and I still wasn't, having like any bad outbursts, any signs of depression or anxiety or anything really. I seemed like a normal kid. I just loved baseball. That's all I wanted to do was play baseball. And then I'd say about like seventh, eighth grade, probably about seventh actually. Um, I started like noticing these feelings of not necessarily wanting to rebel, but wanting to always have people notice me, to always be making people laugh, to always be like, I wanted attention really bad. Um, so I started noticing those signs and everything. And it's not like I didn't get attention at home. Like I did, but I guess I didn't. I don't know. It's hard to explain. I do remember my dad being in and out of a diversion center a lot when I was younger. Um, so like I remember going and seeing him at the diversion center, and he was playing basketball, and I didn't really get it. I didn't understand what he was doing there and why he was there and not home with us. And I remember one time being a kid and like got pulled over by the cops, and like my dad got handcuffed, and all I remember is just bawling my eyes out, and the cop let him go. And it's not like it clicked in my head to cry and you can get stuff, but it was just such a confusing thing for me. I was like, why did that man do that and then let him go? Like, it was just strange. So I guess there are certain things like that that probably do have an impact on me now and everything. But yeah, by the time seventh grade and everything, I started having those attention-seeking moments and everything. And around this time is where I gained my core group of friends, and three of them I still talk to today. They're my best friends in the world. And around that time, I was probably about 13 or so. A couple of us started smoking pot, and at first it wasn't like I liked it. I liked the way it made me feel, but it wasn't anything like every day or anything at first. It was just like spending the night with some buddies on the farm, and older brother's got some pot, so we'll smoke it. But then the summer going into high school, that summer, something changed. I started skateboarding. So the addictive personality had transitioned now from baseball to skateboarding and music. I started playing music and playing in these little punk bands and everything. Um, and I started smoking pot a lot, like every day that summer. And I mean, that obviously continued for a long, long time. But I just remember thinking that that was the first time in my life thinking that drugs were cool, was when that summer I started smoking pot all the time, skateboarding all the time. I thought it made me skateboard better. I thought it made me look cool. I thought it was kind of like, I was going into high school and these older high school girls are gonna be like, "Oh, a young little skater punker kid, and he's smoking pot. He must be pretty interesting and mature and everything." So that was the first time in my life that I recall thinking some sort of way that drugs were cool. And now we're in high school.